Hi everyone, Dave here, back with another video. Welcome. Today we're gonna finally be tackling part 2 of our Jujutsu Kaisen Season 1 review. A few things I need to mention first. One, I'm sorry my chair is so squeaky. Nothing I can do about it. I'm poor. Gotta buy a cheap chair. That's just how it is, unfortunately. Sorry about it. Hopefully it won't be too distracting. Second, I apologize on the wait. Work has been super crazy, and I haven't been able to watch any anime, let alone Jujutsu Kaisen, and having the opportunity to write down my thoughts and notes and everything, just haven't been able to do it. Also, thank you guys so much for the nice comments that I received on part 1. I didn't think, as you guys may have noticed, or maybe not have noticed, but this is like my second channel. I have a main channel just called Dave Mollahan. That's just me. It's where I post my comedy stuff. I'm a wannabe comedian. I'm really not that funny, but you should maybe check it out if you're interested. But I had all my anime videos over there. And this part 1 was up for like 2 months and it got like 8 views or something. And this one, part 1 on this channel, has been up for a fraction of the time and already passed the amount of views. Granted, it's still not a whole lot, but it shows that people actually care, which I really appreciate. And I, again, received a few really nice comments on that video. And even though it doesn't seem like a whole lot, it really means the world to me, because all I ever wanted when making videos, creating any form of content, is for people to just give a fuck. And I really appreciate that people care, and care enough to know my thoughts and opinions on Jujutsu Kaisen, which is what we're going to get into now. I just felt like I had to get all that out of the way. So thank you for watching. If this is your first video that you're seeing of me, I wish I could say every video isn't as rambly, but it is, unfortunately. I ramble, I'm sorry. But that's why I take notes. So anyway, let's jump into it. So, in the first episode, we covered the first 2 arcs of Jujutsu Kaisen, the introduction arc and the Cursed Womb arc. Today, we're going to be covering the Cursed Training arc and the Versus Mahito arc. So, let's jump into it. The Cursed Training arc, that's the next arc. This is episodes 6 through 8. The Cursed Training arc, in my estimation, kind of brings home a lot of the thoughts that I had about Itadori in the beginning. He basically, from the get-go of the beginning of this arc, continues to prove his combat prowess, which is one thing that I think sets him apart from a lot of other Jujutsu sorcerers. And even Gojo says that he's really good at combat, and he honestly is kind of leagues above, other sorcerers when it comes to physical combat, which I think is very interesting. And not only is he good at combat, he's smart in combat. Like when, in the very beginning of episode 6, I believe, when he's fighting Sukuna, however you pronounce it, in the little mindscape thing, he, instead of punching him directly, he punches the ground to distract him, to get another kick in, like around the side. I know it seems kind of silly, especially in a shonen, to be like, oh yeah, the main character is good at punching stuff, duh. But I think it just adds to Itadori's character of, not only is he good at combat, but he's smart in combat. And I think that's just really cool. But the Cursed Training arc, honestly, the star of the show in these few episodes is Gojo. 100%. Like, when I first was trying to get into Jujutsu Kaisen, and when I was doing research on it, I saw a lot of Gojo talk. A lot of like, oh, Gojo's the best. He's like the runaway character. It's similar how maybe like Kakashi is like the runaway character of Naruto, or like Bakugo is like the runaway character of My Hero, even though Bakugo is a trash character. Fight me. I fucking hate Bakugo. But like, those characters that are kind of side characters, not really side, but like in the framework, but they're not the main character, but fans make them the main character, if you catch what I'm trying to say. But I was like, yeah, Gojo's cool. He's sweet. But in this training arc, I literally wrote down Gojo is cool. Like he's the man. Gojo is the man, and I want to touch on that and a little more heavily in a minute. First off, we can tell how much Gojo cares for Itadori when Itadori was dead, or well, I guess that's not quotes because he really was dead. We could tell in the short amount of time how much Gojo really started to like Itadori. At this point, this is episode 6. They had known each other for a few episodes at this point, and he already saw a lot of good in Itadori and a lot. What's the word I'm looking for? He liked the guy, all right, and it shows Gojo's character that in that quick of a time, this kid that he had been training dies, and that breaks him up. He's like, it should have, he's talking about some of the other sorcerers, and he's like, oh, they're so good, and Itadori would have been one of them, and he's breaking up over it. All right, so let's just go into Gojo, right? Because this is the biggest point of the arc. This is where, in my mind, he really comes into his own as a character. And I finished this arc, and I was like, okay, I get why people love this guy. And I think Gojo's fight with Jogo, the fight alone, in my opinion, is not only one of the coolest fights I've seen, but I think it's a fight at least in any recent anime that I've seen, that has so many implications. Like, there's so much learned about these characters and the world just from this one fight alone, which I find super interesting. First off, I wrote down that their names, the syllables of their names are flipped, like Gojo and Jogo. I just thought that was interesting. It doesn't really mean anything. But Gojo toys with this guy, with Jogo, the volcano dude. He toys with him. And it shows that Gojo is fun. He's quirky. He's a jokester, but he can be fucking brutal when he needs to be, and that really says a lot about him. It's he likes to have fun, but when he needs to turn that on, he fucking can turn that shit on. He toys with him. He calls him weak, and up until that point, we've seen Jogo brutally kill those people in that restaurant where he set them all on fire. I feel like I should say spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen Jujutsu Kaisen yet, but this is a review, so I'm going to talk about stuff that may or may not be spoiler worthy. So just a blanket spoiler warning. I should have mentioned that earlier on. Apologies. But we had seen, really the biggest thing we've seen from Jogo up until that point is when they were in that restaurant and he just set everyone on fire, just for no fucking reason. But that was brutal, and these people are literally catching flames, and that one waitress is losing her mind. She's like, oh my god, what's going on? And then she eventually succumbs to the flames, and they literally just all burn alive. And I read somewhere that when you burn alive, your eyes melt before anything else, so you'll literally be alive and feel your eyes melt. I know that's fucked up, but that just drives home how fucking crazy bad this Jogo guy is. He's just evil. He's an evil dude. And then to juxtapose that with Jogo calling him weak, that hits home just how fucking crazy strong Jogo must be. For him this villain that we've seen, the only thing we've seen of him is this brutal murder, and for Jogo to be like, yeah, this fucking guy sucks. Whatever, he's nobody. I don't give a shit. And this is further, the point of Jogo just being super powerful is further proven when he brings Itadori for a training lesson, which is the biggest big dick energy move I have seen in anime in a long time. He's basically saying, hey kid, watch me kick this dude's ass. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be fucking sick. If that just doesn't radiate BDE, I don't know what does, dude. That is cool. That is the coolest thing ever. When he zips out and he brings Itadori back and he's like, hey, check this shit out. I'm about to fucking rock this dude's world. And you might learn some, kid. You might learn how to fucking be as good as me one day. That's so cool. So the fight itself, great fight choreography, and that's something I said, I believe I mentioned in my last, in the first part, is Jujutsu Kaisen is really great fight choreography. You could tell that whoever worked on it, whether it comes down to the mangaka himself or the people who did the animation, they really know martial arts, and they know how somebody would throw a punch, and they know what goes where, how this would look, how the art of fighting, the dance of fighting comes together, and it's on full display in this fight. I wrote down this man is pretty much just, beautiful Kakashi. I don't know why I keep calling him Kakashi. He's fuckboy Kakashi. He's not even a fuckboy. He's e-boy Kakashi. He's got those pretty crystal blue eyes that he covers with a headband. Whatever. And I also thought this fight was very interesting because not only was it a teaching moment for Itadori, but it was a teaching moment for the bad guy as well, which is something that really interests me. And I don't know if I've ever seen another fight like that in an anime where the bad guy is learning something as well. Because he's teaching Itadori about the, oh God, what's the name? The closed plane, or... You guys know what I'm talking about, like when they shut off and they encase someone in their own dimension or whatever that's called. I'm sorry, I forget the name. But even Jogo's like, oh dude, really? Like that's a thing? Like, and he's not only teaching Itadori, but he's teaching the bad guy, which I found super, super interesting. And I just thought that was not only a really funny moment and just shows how fucking powerful Gojo is, Gojo, sorry. How fucking powerful Gojo is, that he just will like stop in the middle of the fight to be like, hey kid, I need to teach you about this thing. But even the villain's like, oh dude, okay, I should write that down. That's actually pretty smart. I can use my volcano and then do the, yeah. Like that's really cool in my opinion. And at the end, like I said, it just shows how brutal Gojo can be. Like when you get on his bad side, he not only takes Jogo into his domain, but then he just fucking rips his head off. Which was super unnecessary, but brutal as fuck and really cool. Really cool. And I watched that and I was like, oh, dude. Oh, this guy may be top tier. This guy might be top tier. I don't know, like, I saw a video that somebody said he could solo Naruto. I don't know about that, but he definitely would give him a run for their money. I can tell you that right now. Gojo is tough. He is one tough motherfucker. So that's the fight. That was the biggest takeaway from the Curse Training arc, in my opinion, was the Gojo-Jogo fight. Because not only was it a great fight, but it had a lot of really interesting implications, and we learned a lot about Jogo just from that one fight, which I thought was really, really cool. Apologies, my throat is dry. Will I remember to edit that out? Probably not. So that's your opportunity for a water break as well. I'll wait. I'll get another swig myself. Drink your water. It's very important advice. Drink your water. Make sure you're hydrated. Make sure you're healthy. That's something that we wanna nail home here on the Davey Doughboy Manga and Anime channel. Take care of yourself, because you're loved, and I love you, and people love you. Anyway, back to fucking crazy ass Harry Potter. So the fight, we touched on that. Great fight, great implications. Next, the show still handles the juxtaposition of drama and comedy super well. So well. When Megami, and again, I'm sorry if I mispronounce these names. I'm horrible with names, and I'm even worse at pronouncing them correctly. But hopefully you guys at least know who I'm talking about. But when Megami tells the mother of that guy that they were trying to save in the Cursed Womb arc that her son is dead, that was a tearjerker of a scene. His stoicness and his, you could tell he was battling his own demons because at that point Itadori was dead, or at least he didn't know that Itadori was alive. So he's thinking like, damn, my friend died, my buddy died. And meanwhile, this mother is breaking down, and she says something, and I didn't write it down, which I wish I did, but I think he said, Megami says, like, I'm sorry we couldn't save him, and she says something along the lines of, like, I'm the only one left to mourn him, or something like that, and I was like, damn, dude, that hits hard. It was a powerful scene, and this show does a lot of really powerful scenes very well, a lot of emotional scenes. And, like, I almost teared up. And I don't do that very often. I don't get very emotional when it comes to media. But that made me go, God damn, man, that shit tough. That shit rocked. That shit rocked me up a little bit. And then immediately cuts to Nobara racing Panda. And that was fucking hilarious. Because you have this gut-wrenching scene, and then immediately cuts to a girl racing a panda as they're training for this, like, track and field style event. Like, that's funny. And I think that it just goes to show the writing in this show is very solid and very, top quality, that you can juxtapose a very heavy scene with something so absurdly fucking funny. And I really appreciate that about the show. I do like how the show also continues to break the fourth wall. Itadori, he was talking to Jogo, or I keep calling him Jogo, sorry, Gojo, and he was talking about, like, the moves that Itadori might be able to do, and Itadori was like, oh man, I want to do a spirit bomb, or what was a Rasengan, I think was one of the other ones he mentioned, and I just think that's funny. I always love a show that doesn't try to take itself overly seriously. Attack on Titan. I love a show that's able to play with itself, and that came out wrong. That's able to goof around and shoot the shit and make jokes and talk about other existing properties. I think that's fun, and that's literally the definition of a fourth wall break. So really didn't need to explain all that, Dave. Appreciate it. Moving on. I thought the movie test was really interesting. Itadori had to watch a bunch of movies while channeling his cursed energy into this little bear thing with boxing gloves. And if he wasn't able to do it, the bear would punch him. And I just thought that was super interesting. I don't have a whole lot to say on that, but I just thought it was an interesting test. It's something, different, at least in my eyes. Like, watching a movie, but also, so your senses are on this, but you've also got to keep that energy flowing. I just thought that was interesting. And then episode 8 sets up some interesting characters and some interesting plot points. The introduction of those students from the other school, the fight that, what's his name? The big guy who's really into girls, like that. I kind of hate those one-note characters who's like, I'm a big buff guy, but I like girls. Like, I kind of don't like that character. But his fight with Megami was pretty good. And also JJK has a really good soundtrack as well. I didn't write that down, but I should have, because the soundtrack during that fight, the music that they chose was really good. So it's something that I think this show does well as well. Is they have a good OST. But yeah, the whole Curse training arc wraps up pretty well with some interesting plot points, and it made me be like, okay, what's next? And I'll tell you what's next. It's the Versus Mahito arc. First off, I gotta say, fourth wall again breaking. They had a haiku reference with a cardboard cutout of a volleyball player that looked a lot like Oikawa. Same colors and everything. I thought that was fun. But I gotta tell you guys, the Versus Mahito arc, half of it is fucking boring. It starts off really boring. Mahito is strong. We can see that, like, when he murders those kids in the theater. But it kind of is undercut by the fact that those kids were dicks. They were shitty. They were shitty people. So, like, I get, like, and the reason that the whole Jogo thing worked was because those were just normal people living their lives, and they were visibly frightened and scared by the fact that everyone was just bursting into flames. And also, to jump back to that, I want to see if they bring that waiter character back. Like, the fact that he knew that that was going to happen and he quit. He was like, oh, boss, I can't do this. I got to quit. Because he knew something bad was going to happen. I don't know if that was just something they threw in just to show that, like, other people are aware of curses, or if that guy's supposed to be a character. I don't really know. But I thought that was kind of interesting. But anyway, it's different with the Mahito thing because there's no undercutting thing. Like, if he just went and killed like a person that we saw was a good person, like if he went to like a soup kitchen and killed all the volunteers, I'd be like, damn, dude, this guy's fucking brutal. But he killed a few high school kids who were fucking assholes. So I kind of was like, yeah, good. Fucking kill those guys. Like, good. But it was still brutal. I mean, the way that he fucking literally just exploded them was kind of gnarly. There was a thing that, oh god, Nanami, the glasses guy. There was a thing that he said when he was talking to Itadori, and Itadori said, stop treating me like a kid. And he was talking about, like, the accumulation of these small moments of despair is what makes a person an adult. And I thought that was really funny, but then I thought about it and I was like, fuck, that's like a bar. And this show has already had a few, like, good quotable moments. Like, in one of the first episodes, Gojo says, like, the only fairness given to all is an equally unfair reality, or something along those lines. And I'm like, damn. So when I heard that, I was like, damn, that's another good one. That's another fucking tattoo. That's another, you know, people love to get lyrics. I'm going to get just anime quotes. Just all over. Just, you know, that's another good fucking quote. But anyway, back to the topic. Junpei starts out as a very boring character, but I do feel bad for him. He gets bullied a lot. Nobody likes bullying. But again, kind of jumping back to my first point, is when we see him kind of, you know, when we see Mahito kill people and when we see Junpei kind of lose it and, you know, want to, you know, exact his revenge. And not that I'm saying that any of that's okay. I do not condone killing. I do not condone whatever. But in the context of the anime, in the context of the show alone, I was like, yeah, dude, fuck those kids. They suck. They suck. And the teachers, too. They saw this poor kid getting bullied, and they didn't do a goddamn thing. So I wanted to see them die. Like, I wanted to see bad things happen to those characters because they sucked. And that was all we saw of them. Which, you know, made it fun. Not fun, but it made it like retribution when Junpei finally loses it and he goes to the auditorium and he, you know, he's about to kill this dude. And I was like, all right, Junpei, you know, fucking get it, man. Get your fucking revenge, man. But it also undercuts the storytelling because we're supposed to believe that these characters are bad, like Mahito, and we're supposed to be like, oh, Junpei, don't kill that guy. But up until that point, all we've seen are shitty things. So I'm like, yeah, Junpei, kill that guy. It's like when your friend is doing something stupid, but you kind of want to see what will happen. So you're like, no, don't, stop. That's kind of the whole Junpei thing. Like, you know him killing this guy is bad, but the guy he's killing is a fucking dick. So you're like, Junpei, don't do it, man. Don't kill that guy. And then you bring up the phone and, you know, record. Don't do it, Junpei, don't. So that's kind of where my head was at. But I will say, the arc picks up. It starts out kind of boring, but it really picks up near the end. So yeah, Junpei, boring, but I felt bad for him. I did enjoy his and Itadori's budding friendship. I thought that they getting along with movies, and that kind of ties back to the previous arc of Itadori having to watch all those movies. I thought that was cute. I thought that was fun. Nanami is a very cool character and a very cool new addition to the cast. I thought he was great. This arc had a lot of twists and turns that I thought were very interesting. Again, spoilers. but the spirits turning out to be people, I thought was a really interesting take. And there's a very overarching theme in this arc of Itadori having to come to terms with the possibility of killing people or killing anyone. And that's something that is a constant theme throughout the entire arc and kind of was built up in the previous Cursed Training arc. So them being people makes it all the more hard to be like, damn, like these people are beyond saving. But you see a couple scenes where the elongated, stretched out faces, and in the beginning when they're fighting in like the batting cage or whatever, and Itadori punches this demon thing. I'm like, oh man, cool punch. But then you see the poor thing crying and like kind of squirming on the ground, and I was like, damn, dude, I kind of felt bad for it. And then after it was revealed that these things are humans, I'm like, oh, dude, fuck. Like, that makes me even more sad. And that makes me even more conflicted as a viewer to be like, fuck yeah, Itadori. But also, damn, man, that dude was a dude. Or that dude was somebody. That person, that thing that you killed had a life before this. And then these crazy, fucked up demon guy, Mahito. But at the point, I don't think we knew that it was Mahito. I don't remember. But he had to come through and fuck up this person's life. So it made me want to see Mahito get his fucking comeuppance, that much more. And then the twist of, well, I guess it wasn't really a twist, but Junpei's mother getting killed, that broke my heart. Because you could tell that she was such just a fun, cool woman who cared about her son. And when he was staying home from school because he didn't want to go face bullies, she was like, yeah, man, fuck it, man. You kids have so much to worry about. Stay home, relax, chill. She invited Itadori over for dinner without hesitation. She just seemed like a very cool, fun person. And it made it all the more sad when she died, when she got killed. When she was sitting there at the table and she saw Sukuna's finger, and then that thing slowly rose behind her, my heart literally stopped. I was like, oh, fuck. Like that, it was really, again, the writing, really well written. So that was a big twist, and it sucks to see. Because she was, in the brief time that we saw her on screen, she was a very likable character. So I just wanted to make sure I touch on everything before I finish with the with a little bit more about Mahito. So yeah, the build-up of Itadori having to kill someone is very interesting. I've mentioned that before, but I just wrote it down here. It's handled very well, and it's very interesting. And it just makes me even more interested for the rest of the season and even into the next season, because I'm pretty sure there's going to be a season 2. I mean, there's more of the manga. So I would assume that they're going to adapt it in the anime. But I don't know. But anyway. Mahito, it sucks. And not just like, oh, he sucks because he's a bad guy. He's a bad villain. I don't like him. I think he's boring. I think he's an insanely boring villain. Because I hate one-note villains that are just like, oh, I'm evil just because I'm evil. It's like, cool, man. That's fun. Like, anything else you got going on? Any, like, troubled past or backstory? Not that I need to feel bad for you. Because I also, it's kind of a double-edged sword. Because as much as I hate one-note villains, I also hate when a villain is like, oh, I'm this way because I was bullied in high school. And it's like, same, dude. We kind of all were bullied. We like anime. We were bullied in high school. Don't see me going on a fucking genocidal war path, So chill the fuck out. So I need a balance when it comes to my villains. And this guy just goes completely to one side of like, I'm evil just because I'm evil. And he also is my least favorite villain archetype, the kind of quirky, silly, funny villain. Not even funny, but like the quirky, like, oh, this is crazy. Like, I'm trying to think of like the right terminology, but he's like, oh, this, I'm just in death and gore and guts is so cool, and I want to crush Itadori. Like, I don't like that sort of villain. It just doesn't. It's just annoying to me. First of all, like, if you're gonna be bad, and he is bad. But like, don't like. I don't even know how to explain my thoughts because like, it's just an archetype of villain that I don't like. The guy who's just evil to be evil, and the guy who just thinks it's a fucking joke and is so, hyped up on his own power that he's like, no one could ever defeat me anyway, blah blah blah. Like, I'm just not a fan of that villain archetype, and I just think it's boring. Honestly, I think Mahito's really boring, and the fact that they, spoiler alert, didn't kill him means that we're gonna have to see more of that guy, and I don't like it. I really wanted them to axe Mahito and be done with it, but unfortunately they did not do that. Yeah. Oh, one more thing about Itadori is he continues, and this was something that was really touched on in the first few arcs, but has just been a constant theme of his character throughout the show, is he continues to care about others way more than himself, and I find that very admirable. That's a very admirable and likable quality about his character. When Nanami gets to the school after Itadori had been fighting for a minute, and he's like, hey, what's the situation? Basically, he's asking, like, how are you? Are you okay? And Itadori doesn't even care about that. He says, oh, there's kids inside. They're knocked out. Unfortunately, 2 dead, I think, something like that. And he was beat up. He was like, I couldn't save him. I couldn't save him. And Nanami's like thinking to himself, he's like, I was asking how you are. Like, he still just doesn't care about himself. He cares about other people. And when you're fighting, that's obviously probably not the best quality to have, because you need to take care of yourself so that you can save other people. So I understand Nanami being like, oh, dude, this fucking guy. But like, as a fan of Itadori, that just kind of continues to strike home to me how likable this guy is. Like, he's in the middle of a fight. At that point, he had like holes in his body, like he'd been stabbed a bunch, but he didn't care about that. He cared about how these kids were and if they were okay, and he cared about the fact that at that point Junpei was dead. I have a feeling they might bring him back. I could be wrong about that. He's in the opening credits, so I feel like, and he was a pretty important character over this Mahito arc. So like, I guess it's not really a out of left field for them to put him in the opening credits, but I feel like they might bring him back. I could be wrong about that. I haven't finished season 1 yet. I've been taking it 2 arcs at a time, obviously, as per the video. So I don't know, but his friend, his new friend, is dead, and that kind of beat him up inside, and as would anybody. Obviously nobody wants to lose a friend, but even with all that, he cares about what's happening to other people and not about how he's doing or how he's feeling. And and I'm not saying the guy needs to push down his feelings, like that John Mulaney joke, like, oh, we push down our feelings and then eventually we die. I'm not saying do that, but I just think it's an admirable quality for him to care more about other people than himself. And I think, not to get fucking, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't remember what word I'm looking for, but basically I think it's a quality that we could all attribute to one another in real life. if we all cared a little less about ourselves and a little more about everyone else, I feel like the world would be a lot better place. See, Mom, there is stuff that we can learn from anime. She's not even home right now. But yeah, so that's the Curse Training arc and the Versus Mahito arc from Jujutsu Kaisen. We are currently on episode 14, which is the Kyoto Goodwill event arc. And then on episode 22 is the Death Painting arc. And those are the last 2 arcs of season 1. So I'm going to continue watching. I'm going to continue taking my notes. I hope you guys like this style of video. I know there's nothing going on screen. I learned how to edit years ago, and then I kind of forgot, and I don't have very good software anyway. But I feel like a stream of consciousness style thing is better, because I've gotten comments in the past of people being like, hey, you should really write a script, which makes sense, but I like just feeling like I'm having a conversation with you guys, and I feel like a script would be too kind of formulaic, in my opinion. No shade to anybody who writes scripts for their videos. Obviously, that would be a stupid thing for me to, oh, you put effort into your videos? What a dork, dude. No, obviously I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is, like, my style of content creation, quote unquote, is like, hey, is basically like, hey, we're buddies, and we're just chilling, and we're just shooting the shit, and we're talking about anime. So let me know what you guys think of Jujutsu Kaisen down below. I hope you enjoyed this video. I've got a couple other videos in the mix right now. I'm going to try to not make every video just me talking, because I do understand to a viewer that probably would get kind of boring. So I might try to do some videos where I talk over some gameplay of something, or at least something to catch your eyeballs a little bit better. But yeah. If you guys have anything you want to see from me, I've got a whole fucking collection of manga. Any reviews you want to see, let me know in the comments below. I'm working on some stuff right now. Hopefully that'll be out sooner rather than later. I very much appreciate the support that I've gotten so far, and I hope this channel grows, you know, a little more each time. So it really means the world to me. I hope you all have a very great day, and I'll see you next time. Thank you guys so very much. Appreciate it.